Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 167 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on June 20th, 2023. How are all you wonderful folks doing today? Or tonight, or this evening, or this morning? Guess it depends when you listen to it, huh? Yeah. Now, I hope you're all staying cool out there in podcast land. I am currently living on the surface of the sun. Yeah, otherwise known as Texas. No, it is. Just to let you know, it's bright and warm and everything's fine here. Nothing to be alarmed about. Just literally boiling. It's great, dude. It's so early in the summer. It's so early. It's gonna be a hot one, as they say. The dad goes out in the yard. It's gonna be a hot one today. No, but it is hazardous. The heat index is in the triple digits. So working outside, especially when you're doing testing and stuff like large scale test programs, let me tell you, brother, it's not cool. Yeah. On today's episode, I have some neat things to speak about. A new sound signature review coming this week. Yeah. I'll give you some thoughts on the HUXWRX FLOW 762 Ti on 556 at night. That's right, some night shooting experience with that new silencer. I'll be speaking about that with you. And finally, I was actually asked by some companies today to talk about this effort. So the third topic of the podcast is going to be for them. Apparently, some companies in the industry that are really working hard and doing great things are being approached and bullied by other companies and even threatened by them. It's so crazy. You hate to see it. And so those folks, they simply ask that I iterate why I am doing what I'm doing at PEW Science. And so the last topic is for those folks that could just because they asked me to give the topic, and so I'll do it. Okay, so I hope you folks enjoy the episode. So let's get on with it. Okay, first, some words from my gracious sponsors. I'm going to try to do this quickly out of respect for you, the listener, but not so quick out of respect for the sponsors. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. That's right. Legion Athletics, a dedicated sponsor of the J Situation Podcast and the entire effort of PEW Science. I'm a super firm believer in a sound mind and a sound body, and physical activity being important. And whether that be strength sports, cycling, martial arts, anything that expresses the beauty of human strength, I endorse it fully. Okay? I think participating in those activities is paramount for all people in all stages of life. You get it when the getting's good, and you get it when you can. Okay? So that means when you're busy, you might need some help, Not only fitting those activities into your busy schedule and prioritizing them with different motivational tools and organizational tools, but you also might need help with supplementing the nutrients you need to actually recover so you can continue your good habits. You're no good unless you're consistent, right? Nothing you do without consistency is worth it, right? Exercise, sports, anything. Nothing's worth doing without consistency. You have to do all the time if you want to be great. And Legion Athletics can help. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, vitamins, minerals. Brother. No, it's great. Do they have everything you need? Maybe not, but they have a lot. Visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. Use code word PEWScience for 20% off your first order. And if you keep using the code, you get double loyalty points. You'll end up basically netting 10% off everything you ever buy going forward. Just using that code. It's awesome. Get strong. It's important, okay? And just so you know, I just made a big order from them. I'm getting a lot of stuff that I'm going to try because I've been using the pre-workout, been using the post-workout, been using the whey protein. I am getting a lot of other stuff, particularly some joint support stuff that I think old Jay might need in these trying times. Okay? So I'll let you know how that goes. The J Situation Podcast is also proudly sponsored by Top Gun Range Houston. The one and only indoor range in Houston with the largest firearm rental fleet, not only in Houston, but the entire state of Texas. That's right. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns. Oh my. And you guessed it, machine guns. It sounds really fun because it is. I like to use indoor shooting range to try out new carry pistols. I think, and some people argue with me about this. Some people joke with the memes about, oh, the Glock doesn't fit my hand. While I think that can sometimes be a cop-out, and I agree with the memes, I also think that handguns are super personal, and finding a handgun that you really love to shoot. I mean, finding a rifle you really love is cool too, but a handgun, I don't know. For me, it's always been so personal. So I like to try them out before I buy them. That's just my thing. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? So yeah, you can check out their rental fleet in their inventory on their website at topgunrange.com. And you can also find them on Instagram at topgunrange, okay? Check them out. Also, this episode podcast is brought to you by High-End Armament Technology, Heat, dealer of exactly that. Do you want to go broke? Do you frequent the Wall Street Bets subreddit? And are you a degenerate gambler? Do you win big and like to be completely bankrupt? If so, High-End Armament Technology might be for you. No, they do have a significant longevity in the machine gun and NFA game. And if you are looking for night vision, thermal, infrared sighting systems, they have a lot of experience using the best of the best stuff. I got my Voodoo S from there. It's basically the price of a car. It's irresponsible to buy things like that sometimes, but sometimes also treat yourself. You know what I'm saying? So if you're into that, check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also High End Arms. I hope they can help you folks out if you need it. To feed your addiction, tell them Jay sent you. And, the Jay Situation podcast and PEW Science is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. They're the largest distributor of silencers in the United States. And they endorse PEW Science, they endorse this podcast, and they endorse the suppression rating. Did you know that? They do. You can even use their kiosk and do your fingerprints and photos electronically in all the kiosks they have in dealers across the country. And in turn, you cut down on errors, you simplify your silencer purchasing process. It's money back guarantee. It's great. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. With a combination like Silencer Shop for your paperwork and PEW Science for your sound signatures, how can you lose? No, but in all seriousness, go to the show notes. There's some codes. Shotgun Club out of Arizona. There's a code for Magpul at PS10. Save $10 off there. Code word PEW Science for True Shotgun Club. Yeah. All those codes and all that stuff that save you money, stuff like that. And then also, the podcast is sponsored by PEW Science. Pushing the silencer industry forward, one test at a time. That's right. And when you visit pewscience.com, you can learn about the suppression rating. It's the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for suppressed small arms, and it is based on true human inner ear response from the entire gunshot, from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. So we take the raw waveforms, the entire thing, we publish them publicly on the website, and then we run them through our suppression rating algorithm, and we give you the best final answer for how it's going to influence your ears and the ears of the folks beside you. It's pretty cool. We'll talk about it more into the podcast today, okay? The third topic. PEW Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard. 7 sections. The most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the entire world, okay? Check it out at pewscience.com if you haven't. It's really cool. And you can support this podcast. You can support PEW Science. You can support all the testing that I do for you, all the analysis that I do for you by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. You know what? When you join with a membership, you get extra stuff. You get a direct line of communication with me. I'm a consulting engineer. I'll talk about your silencers with you. It's great. I really enjoy doing it. I did it today with a member at lunch. We had Thai food. I'll talk about that today too. It's awesome. I'm not promising I'd have Thai food with all of you, but you know what? If you all lived in my town, I would. There's a donate feature on the review page of the podcast page. Every little bit helps. And you know what? You say, Jay, I don't know about this. This is too rich for my blood. I say, no problem. If you don't want to donate or join, that's okay. Something that's free is you can just spread the word. That helps. And you can also give the podcast a good rating on your favorite podcast provider. You can help to normalize the use of suppressed small arms and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. We can continue our mission of making everything quiet. That's right. Okay, 3 topics for you today. Topic 1, new sound signature review this week. This week? Yeah, kick off your shoes. Put your feet up. Enjoy the detailed characterization of a relatively new silencer on the scene. Yeah, new players entering the space. Yeah. Is it making things interesting when that happens? I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. Topic 2, the nighttime is the right time. Remember that movie with Dan Aykroyd? No. What happens when you shoot a flow-through titanium silencer on a 14.5-inch 5.56 machine gun in the nighttime? Does it flash? Does it spark? What about under night vision? What about with thermal? The humanity. The human manatee. No, I'll give you some of my recent field experience with the HUXWRX FLOW 762 Ti from this past weekend. Yeah, doing hood rat stuff with my friends. No, just kidding. I was alone. That's sad. Topic 3, independent laboratory testing of silencer sound signatures coupled with engineering analysis. Why do we do all that? Why do we go the extra mile here at PEW Science? You know, it's more than just for trust and mitigating conflicts of interest. The research data practice and grassroots education, that's really at its core. So thank you for helping PEW Science build the silencer sound standard research pedigree. This topic is going to talk about the effort a little bit in a way you might have not heard before, and I hope I do that justice for the people who asked. Okay, let's go into topic 1 at a time of 11 minutes and 26 seconds. All right, let me get a drink of water 1 second, guys. Man, my neighbor was using a leaf blower earlier. He was like nonstop leaf blowing. And look, do I fully endorse the use of gas-powered lawn tools? Absolutely. Okay, I think a small 2-stroke engine with a proper fuel oil mixture, kicking out those sweet that sweet horsepower for the high revving horsepower for the blowing the leaves there. I think that's great, America. But goodness gracious, at nighttime, come on, guys. People are trying to record podcasts. You know, people are trying to record podcasts here. What is this? Was this NASCAR? New sound signature review this week. That's right. Yeah, relax. Kick off your shoes. Put your feet up. Enjoy. I enjoyed writing it. It's already done. Yeah, good golly, Miss Molly. I tell you what, surprise data set. Oh, yeah, I thought it was a great time to release this, and the client agreed. They did. Here we are. This silencer is going to be a really cool case study for members that are using the new data visualization tool in the members ranking section when they filter by length. You know, so those members that are using that, they'll be able to put the slider on the top end of the top end of the length slider. You know, you can bring that down to whatever value you want, and then you can watch the silencer start disappearing off the chart. As you notch that slider down, what happens? More and more dots disappear. Why? Well, you're filtering. You're removing information from the data set. That's what filtering means. When we talk about filtering in the data visualization tool, or we talk about filtering people do when they test silencers, in both cases, we're talking about removing data. That's what filtering does. Okay, we'll talk about that in the third topic, but keep that in mind. So remember, when you look at that chart, remember the lengths and the weights in that tool that I made for you members, they're measured by me. Those are the measurements of the specimens I'm testing. So whenever you look at the data points on the chart, the lengths and the weight that work with the filter, they align with the suppression rating metrics that are computed from the test data, right? So it's a package deal. They all go together. And so I'm on this topic of this review that's coming soon this week for you. I'm very thrilled that some manufacturers see the value in this type of research, and I know that consumers enjoy seeing it, which is really cool. And I think the companies see that, and then it's like a symbiosis. It's like feeds off of each other, I think, and I'm happy to be able to do it. I do enjoy it. This is one of my greatest joys to be able to publish analytical test reports and have people be interested in them. It's one of my greatest joys. I love doing this stuff. And you know what? It's totally fine if companies don't want to engage with PEW Science to test. That's okay. It's totally fine. I've never said that a company had to test with me. I've never mandated that. In fact, I even made a public post there, saved it on my profile that says, "Don't bully companies." I know, yeah, that's fine. I don't mind at all. Companies not wanting to test with me, it's fine. But when consumers want it, and that's what consumers want, then the consumers want it. That's not me. That's the consumers. Consumers they vote with their dollars, and they demand what they want. I'm a consumer, do the same thing in various industries. So it's nothing new, right? So I'm happy to see this happen when a PEW Science client chooses to test and publish and things like that. I'm happy to see it happen when it happens, because I think everybody wins, because the consumers want it. We already know that, right? There's not a consumer around that some of them say they don't want it, but come on, man. It's free. So of course they want it. It's free. Who doesn't want free stuff? We'll talk about that in topic 3. Okay, it's foreshadowing. It's a mystery. He's crazy. So what we're going to do tomorrow, guys, we're going to do some more 556. Okay, it's going to be more 556 data, just so you know. There is still more Mark 18 data to understand and characterize. And, just when we thought we fully understood certain things, like just when you thought you were like, you know what, I understand, I know what's going to happen, these little nuances that you don't consider, they come right back. They come right back to bite you. No, maybe not to bite you, maybe nibble on you a little bit. And like, oh, you got me, nuance. I did. It's the nuance. Yeah, no, they do. We get pleasantly surprised, I would say. I think sometimes just when we thought we understand something, we get pleasantly surprised, and we're like, I didn't know that could do that. Interesting. And why? And then you look at it more and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. And you're like, okay. It's kind of interesting to me. I think that's cool. So I think when folks see this data, it's going to give them a lot to think about. I think for the general market, I think this data this week is going to give you a lot to think about, because there are things happening that are quite significant if you take a step back and look at the whole landscape. I think when you really take into account how many silencer companies there are and how many consumers there are, and then you think about how many consumers there are that could potentially purchase silencers and which companies stand the best chance of satisfying demand for that, it's a really interesting chessboard. And look, I'm not a huge chess player, but those movies where you watch the chess geniuses play, I enjoy that. I watched this reel the other day on Instagram where it was Jerry Seinfeld talking with Michael Richards. He's the guy who played Kramer on the Seinfeld show. Anyway, so Richards, he was telling Jerry the story about this chess savant he met on the street that completely schooled him, and then he beat the crap out of him like twice in a row, right? Apparently, Michael Richards is a really good chess player, according to the Instagram reel I watched. That's just a bit of trivia for you. Yeah. So back to the review. I think there's some things to talk about, I think there's some things to think about. I think there's some things to think about when you factor in first round pop, and little performance nuances like that. When you talk about 5.56 performance, especially in a short barrel. But I also think there's a lot of things that folks should think about, and I have seen folks talking about, like in the consumer space. I've seen a lot of different things. It's pretty interesting. Everything from materials to sound in general, to price, to weight, to length, to durability, to flash. And then the detailed guys looking at muzzle suppression and at-ear suppression on the specific weapon, and whether the gun's tuned or untuned. All that stuff, it's really interesting. And looking at all these metrics together, now that a lot of you are really understanding what to expect in the space with regard to weight and length and suppression on different hosts, and kind of where things are fitting into the market, what's possible, what's not possible, how certain things are kind of very similar in some ways, and how there are certain things that stand out a lot. I think again, the power of comparison is just really awesome, and I think a lot of people are doing that. And I think this review is going to really shed some cool light onto a market segment that I think a lot of people care about. It's going to be neat. Okay, so stay tuned for data very soon. You'll get the article this week. It will percolate. You'll see it. You'll digest it. You'll consider it. You'll play with it. Members will view the results in visual context in the new member visualization charting tool in the member ranking section. They'll see that. And then after that has run its course, I shall come back and I shall speak with you next week on the next episode of the podcast, and we'll do a deep dive into the technical discussion of the data that will be presented here. And so stay tuned for that. Okay, that'll be really great. All right, so, okay. Let's get into the meat of this episode in topic 2, a time of 20 minutes and 31 seconds. All right, let me get some water for this one. Yeah. Yeah, man, I need like a soundproof room or something. I should have started this podcast episode like way earlier, but the dude was leaf blowing, and I was like, I want to do it, but it's so loud. Like, it'll be all this background noise, and then be a whole thing. Now it's like super late, and I'm like, man. But the guy's doing his yard. You can't really. Topic 2, the nighttime is the right time. What happens when you shoot a flow-through silencer at night? And then what happens if it's titanium? And what happens if it's a machine gun? And what happens if it's 5.56 through a 30 caliber model? What happens if you use night vision? What happens if you use thermal? The humanity. What happens? Are you going to die? Are your eyes going to fall out of your face? Could that happen? It could. No. Man, I did some. Oh my goodness gracious! I did some shooting. I did some shooting for fun this past weekend on one of the nights, and I don't get to do that very often. Boy, howdy, was that fun! And I was doing some ranch work, and I brought my new 14.5 inch mid-length gas upper with me. Because if you remember, I've started testing with that, but. I also bought a second one for myself because I felt it would be fun to mess with another upper, that I didn't want to worry about messing up. And, I really don't like shooting uppers with non-adjustable gas because I use so many different silencers, and I want to be able to adjust the gas to tailor it to my needs. I mean, it's cool if you can have like a really awesome, reliable, fixed position gas block if it's perfect. If everything's perfectly ported in their barrel for your specific silencer. But if you're like me and you have like 9,000 silencers like that you want to try, it's like, it's kind of limiting, having a fixed gas block like this one. But after testing for so long with the Daniel Defense Mark 18 upper for years, and you guys have seen all the data from that, the quality of that Mark 18 upper just impressed me so much. Just everything about it just felt right. Just the barrel. I don't know what it is. I know some uppers, they're just like, everyone thinks that they're the same, but I don't know, man. Something about that Daniel Defense Mark 18. And so, I spoke with Daniel Defense a lot about my experience with the Mark 18 after testing with it for so long. Because some people don't think about that. Like I'm testing silencers with the Mark 18, but I'm shooting the Mark 18. So I have a lot of time behind that gun. Like careful time where I'm really paying attention to the gun and stuff. So I've had really good experience with the upper. And so I was confident in buying, the 14.5 inch for testing. Like we've gone over this before. And so, having my own is kind of neat. And so with my own 14.5 inch upper, I can do a lot of shooting with it. And then I figured since I'm going to be using that for testing as well, I can give folks some other experiences that maybe you don't get to see when I'm publishing the normal 14.5 mid-length gas test data that I'll publish. Because, the Mark 18, I publish a lot of data with it, but I never talk about Mark 18, not because, like, I didn't buy my own Mark 18 upper to mess with. It's because I don't like shooting the Mark 18 that much for myself because it's so, like, it's 10.3 inches, and I'm like, I'm like, when I go, like my personal thing, when I want a really short gun, I like 11.5 inch, and I like 11.5 inch mid-length gas. That's my thing. And so the 10.3, it's a little shorter. It's like, it can be fun, but it's like, it's not 11. I feel like 11.5 mid is like the sweet spot. Just me personally. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So let me talk about the setup I was shooting this past weekend so you can understand, for context, if you want to understand the performance and everything of this silencer that I used at night. So I was shooting that standard M4A1R3 upper, the new Daniel Defense 14.5-inch mid-length, right? And I was putting that on the typical post-sample lower, the Anderson machine gun that I used to test. Okay, so that's just the PEW Science thing. What I did, though, in this, I put the H3 buffer in there and regular carbine buffer spring. So typically, PEW Science tests with H2 buffer for the Mark 18 for commonality, right? And 14.5-inch mid is no different. H2 buffer is like what I'm talking is so common. I ran the H3 buffer in the gun unsuppressed before I started shooting with a silencer, and it worked fine. And so I was like, game on. If this gun is working unsuppressed with an H3, perfect. That means that I like that. I like the mass of the H3. In fact, I always like to run an H3 buffer suppressed in my personal guns if I'm not running the Surefire OBC system. And the only reason I didn't use the well, there's a couple reasons. I didn't use the Surefire OBC this weekend. One, I didn't feel like taking it out of my 11.5-inch mid-gas upper. And the Daniel Defense 14.5 I bought came with a bolt carrier. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just use an H3. I'm good. And so the only other thing I did to that upper, I put the 5.56 flash hider for the Flow, the HUXWRX. The HUXWRX 5.56 flash hider for the Flow 762 Ti. Okay, so I put that on there. So and before I did this, I spoke with HUXWRX. I texted one of them. I said, hey man, I told them I was interested in really hammering on the silencer. I was gonna be like irresponsible with this thing, right? I was like, I had a fear that they were gonna ask me to do 300 blackout testing, you know, and me knowing this silencer is titanium and thinking that, I don't know, man, I've never wailed on it. Like, I don't know, like, what if I damaged it, you know, by abusing it or something? I don't know. They said it's like super durable, but I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, it could be, right? I don't know what kind of erosion. I don't know. And so I was like, what if I mess it up to the point that, what if it like changes a feature testing outcome because I'm like basically, you know, running this thing through the ringer? What if I like, I don't know, because it's titanium and using it on a machine, I don't know. So I didn't want to use it. I was like, hey, so I told them that I was like, you know, I'm just going to sit on this. And they said, have no fear, break it if you can. And if we do 300 blackout testing later, we'll just send you a new test specimen. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's your rodeo. Awesome. Thank you. It's amazing. I was honored. I was like, awesome. So I guess I'm going to use this thing. And so after a couple shots unsuppressed on the upper to verify function, make sure it was working and making sure it was locking back on an empty mag, I was like, okay, game on. Put the Flow 762 on the weapon, and I left it there for about 200 rounds of 5.56. That's basically what I brought with me because I didn't even know if I was going to have time to shoot. You know, I just had my gun. I was like, let's do it. So, and the reason the 200 rounds just serendipitously is important, HUXWRX in their public marketing material states that you may get sparking from the silencer in the first 200 rounds until certain things burn away, like inside the silencer. Okay, well, and I can tell you from experience, having shot a variety of titanium silencers on machine guns over the years, typically with barrels much shorter than 14.5. So I can tell you that titanium silencers spark. Okay, now I know that. So what better way for me to see this, I thought, with the Flow than just shoot it on a machine gun in complete darkness with my naked eyes and night vision and thermal. Okay. I was like, let's just do it. I was like, why not? I was like, if I was doing ranch work, I was like, if I have time to stay out and do this, it'll be perfect because it's going to be dark. It's a Saturday night. I don't have to get up super early in the morning. Let me get this done. This is a perfect opportunity. It's rare that I have this opportunity. I'll bring the gun with me. If I have time to shoot the gun, I'll shoot the gun. Sure enough, it was dark. I had time. I skipped the boring part. Okay. I skipped it. And I did an Instagram live to show you guys where I was too. I don't know how many of you tuned into that. I stayed up late, stayed out in the dark, in the pitch black, in an area with literally no light pollution on a moonless night with only stars. And I shot 200 rounds through the Flow 7.62 Ti. Okay, I did semi-auto, controlled bursts, and mag dumps until the 200 rounds were gone. I know that's not that much. That's not that much ammo, but okay. I used two different types. I brought the 5.56 Norma ammo. It's 55 grain, and then the Winchester Lake City M193. So literally, Winchester now has a Lake City contract. So that's a good data point, right? So the Norma ammo was given to me. Still have some. It's a good option too. Seems to actually behave similarly in the gun. It didn't work fine. I knew that both ammo would be flashy. If there was going to be flash due to ammo related variable, I knew that this could generate that, if that makes sense. Okay, some of you who've used M193 know that. One second. It can be flashy. So I was like, game on. Let's do it. I got nothing to lose. HUXWRX told me I could break the silencer if I wanted. Let's go. You know what I mean? So what did I see? I mean, I took some notes, and I actually did a follow on Instagram Live to tell all you guys what I saw. So I actually told you guys in the second Instagram Live that night. I don't save those Instagram Lives. Those are, if you miss it, you miss it. So I figured I got a lot of requests to talk about it. I'm going to review my notes right now on the podcast here. And so I'll tell you what I saw. So me, the shooter, I'm going to walk you through each spectrum and my personal observations in each spectrum. Sound good? Okay. First spectrum, visual. My eyeballs after adjusting to the dark. Okay. What did I see before I fired the weapon? My freaking RMR dot, bro. Like, that's all. Like, I put, like, just to have you understand, if you haven't seen my 14.5, it's basically there's an attacker. There's a Night Force attacker 1-8 in a 1.54 inch Badger mount with a Trijicon RMR on top of it, so I can use that with night vision. And there's a Wilcox flip to side mount in front of the attacker for a Voodoo S. Okay, like that's my optics setup on that rifle. So the first spectrum for the visual, the only thing I'm looking is I didn't even turn on the illumination on the reticle of the attacker. I'm just like heads up looking through the dot because it's dark, and I'm just like assuming that like I'm firing into trash. Yeah. Okay. So visual spectrum with this silencer at night, just looking through my RMR dot on top of that attacker, what did I see? Well, when I started firing, I saw sparking. Okay, like a sparkler coming out of the end of the silencer with every shot. Okay, semi-auto, full auto bursts, sparking. Okay, as you would imagine, right? Now, what was the duration of sparking to my eyes? If I want to give you this like qualitative measurement, right? Pretty short. Semi-quantitative measurement, pretty short. Did I see it with every shot? Yeah, absolutely. Saw it with every shot. It wasn't like some other silencers, like some steel silencers that might spark when new or something. No, this was like every shot sparked. Okay, so that was like just as I was shooting. Now the next thing you might want to know. Well, okay, Jay, you saw sparking. Well, did you see flash? Well, I can tell you, and again, I'm the shooter of the weapon. From my perspective, shooting the weapon, looking through my attacker when I went to look down into there just to see if I could see other stuff, or looking through the RMR in front of me, like I didn't see any flash with my naked eyes. It was weird. I couldn't really tell. I only saw sparking with my naked eyes. Now, that was actually pretty interesting to me. Does that mean there was no flash? No, I don't know. I actually don't know. Maybe the sparking was like distracting my eye. And so like I wasn't able to see the flash and the sparking at once. I don't know. All I know is I was just seeing the sparking with my eyes. And I was only looking at the silencer with my eyes as I shot the weapon like in front of me. Understand? So as the shooter, I wasn't seeing any flash, visual spectrum, just sparking. Now, let's talk about the second spectrum. Okay, second spectrum. Got to keep in mind. So I got my helmet on. Okay, one eye I got my PVS 14 night vision. The other eye I got my Voodoo S thermal. That's flipped up, and so I got a mount. I can articulate these. I can use none of them, both of them, or either one of them. Okay, so Second spectrum I want to talk about. First, we talked about visual. Let's talk about the second one, infrared. Analog light amplification device. L3 unfilmed white phosphor PVS-14. Helmet mounted. Okay, that's that. It's white. White phosphor. So when you look through it, if you don't have night vision, you don't know what that means. It's not the green one. It looks more whitish, bluish. Understand? Okay, so that's what that is. Helmet mounted as God intended. I had the gain pretty high up, and why? Well, I wasn't using any IR illumination. Okay, it was a dark night. There was no moon. Had to turn the gain up a little bit. Okay, did it look crisp? Yeah, man. I think my tube is pretty nice. Shout out to my boy. I bought it from you, the MVP, sir. No, but yeah. So I shot the rifle anyway. I shot the rifle. I had the PVS-4. I had visual spectrum on my left eye, PVS-14 on my right eye. That's just how I run my system. I have thermal on my left, PVS-14 on my right. In this case, it was only PVS-14 and naked left eye. What did I see from the silencer? Because keep in mind, I can see crispness. I can see at this point, like before when I was testing this and I just saw the sparking, all I saw was the sparking. Now on my right eye, I'm looking around like I'm a superhuman because I have night vision on my right eye, so I can see stuff, and it's a crispy L3 tube too. So it's a good. My right eye is like on like Donkey Kong at this point. Well, so what did I see from the silencer when I shot? I saw flash this time. That's right, I saw flash. I didn't see that in the visual spectrum. I only saw sparking in the visual spectrum. What did I see through night vision? Only flash, no sparking. I couldn't see the sparking. I couldn't see the sparking through. I closed my left eye, so my visual spectrum eye was shut, and only looking through the PVS-14, the night vision, all I saw was a flash. I couldn't see the sparks. Isn't that cool? It's like super interesting, right? It's cool. So, in one spectrum, I saw one type of signature with my eyes. In another spectrum, I saw a completely different type of signature. Okay, so what does that mean? What does it mean? Well, it means a couple things. It means that most likely the M193 ammunition through a 14-inch barrel through the Flow 7.62 produces some flash that you can see with night vision, right? I saw it, so I know it does. Now, what does it say about the sparking through night vision? I have no idea. You know why? Because I saw flash. So I don't know what that means about the sparking. Now, how bad was the flash that I saw? Because this might, some of you might not have ever done this. You might not have ever shot through night vision. People complain about flash from silencers at night. They do complain about that when they use night vision. It's a common complaint. All over the internet and everything. People talk about it all the time. Okay, so I can tell you, I saw the flash through my night vision, and the duration was pretty short, and then it went away. And then I shot again, and it happened again, it went away. And I mag dumped, and it happened, and kept happening. And then I burst, and it happened during the burst. My night vision didn't care. It just let me look at the flash appear and disappear. Now, was it distracting? For me, in this particular case, I didn't think it was distracting. I wasn't engaging in moving targets. I was shooting steel, and I was mag dumping in the trash. Like not literally. Organic trash. It was like a tree pile, but no, that's what I did. That's what I was doing. So, was this a super scientific evaluation? Absolutely not, dude. This was me having fun. But I used the max amount of utility of the night that I had to get this information for you guys, because I know a lot of people wanted to know, so I went and did it. And so my verdict so far for night vision use with 5.56 through the Flow 7.62 Ti on a 14.5-inch mid-length gas upper with M193, you see some flash. You're going to see flash through the night vision with that. A brief burst of flash. Would it get worse on a short barrel? Like if you used it on a 10.3 inch Mark 18 or an 11.5 or something like that. Would the flash through night vision get worse? I mean, I would assume it would. The physics would dictate it probably would. If I'm seeing actual flash, not sparking in night vision, but actual flash through night vision, and on a 14.5, and I shorten that barrel to 10.3 or 11.5, with everything else being equal, I am assuming the flash under night vision will be greater. I mean, I think everyone listening is going to agree with that, right? Just based on what we know about physics. It's not going to get better than the 14.5, so it's going to be either exactly the same or it's going to be a little worse, right? And logic would dictate it'd be a little worse. Okay, that's my guess. I'll have to put it on the Mark 18 and see, because I can do that too. Or 11. I'll probably do an 11.5 because honestly, yeah, I'll do an 11.5. All right. 1 second. I'll have to compare it to a Knight's Armament thing. I'll talk about that later. Okay, so let's talk about another spectrum. We just talked about two, right? We talked about visual spectrum. We talked about the infrared spectrum night vision. Let's talk about another infrared. Talk about a different wavelength of infrared. Let's talk about thermal. Okay, let's talk about this third spectrum. Okay, thermal. So now we're looking at heat signature. Okay, same exercise. And how, you may ask, was I doing this wizardry? Remember, I'm using the Voodoo S. I bought that from High End Armament. My friends there, that's right. Again, go see Robert for all your obscenely expensive gadget needs. Please be responsible with finances. Now, Voodoo S, super Gucci, not affordable in any way by any normal person ever. Totally irresponsible. I love it. I treated myself. That's that. It was on my helmet. I can put it in front of my scope. Again, I think I need you to understand. That's why you keep seeing me use 1 to 8 attacker scopes. The Voodoo S was literally meant to be in front of that scope. If you're going to use it with a low power, low power variable optic. I don't know what that acronym is. I'm getting like that Berenstain-Bears syndrome. It's like Dunning-Kruger effect. Whatever. Whatever the acronym is, if you're going to use like a 1 to 8 scope, the attacker is like crispy critter with that Voodoo. I tell you what, and it's badass, dude. It works so well. So that's why I have 2 attacker scopes, one on my 13-inch Scar and now one on this 14.5 mid-gas AR. It's like that upper. It's like it's Gucci game maximizing utility of the Voodoo. That's basically what that is. It's making so that I can reach out and touch someone with thermal. In a crispy critter condition, and that's what's good, fam. I'm telling you, like I am maximizing the utility of my optic setup. That's people ask me like, well, how come you like the 1 to 8? I was like, trust me. I was like, you can use the Voodoo in front of an EOTech or like Aimpoint or whatever, but homie, let me tell you something. The display on that Voodoo, for zooming in on the display, using the Voodoo as a clip-on, ooh, dude, I'm telling you, it is one of the only thermals where you can put on a helmet and use it as a clip-on, and it'd be crispy critter awesome. Like it's not for the faint of heart or faint of wallet, because like there's other like dedicated. I always recommend if people go thermal, they use a dedicated thermal scope because it's cheaper and you're probably going to be more lethal with it, just because like it'll be dedicated to your gun and like it's just easier for you. This is more of a insane thing to do, but it works. Now back to the experiment. What did I see through the Voodoo with this silencer, with the Flow 762 Ti? Okay, this is on now on my left eye. I have the night vision flipped up. My right eye is now, first of all, my right eye is like getting night blind because I was looking at the PVS 14. Take that away. Now I got the Voodoo on my left eye. Okay, let my right eye adjust. I'm using the Voodoo on the left. What I saw when I was shooting this silencer was actually kind of cool. I actually saw a flash. I didn't even think I was going to see flash. It was actually a small thermal flash signature, but it was so dull. And I had my, I want to say my gain, I forgot the gain setting on the Voodoo that I had, which is going to mean nothing to you unless you have a Voodoo. It wasn't super high. And the brightness of the, my brightness wasn't super high either. Regardless, I saw a very dull momentary flash. And so why was it like that? Why was it momentary and dull like that? You know, why could I barely see the flash through this really awesome thermal? Okay, because it's not a crappy thermal, all right? It's literally an issued device, super modern BAE core. It's insane. Why was the flash signature super dull and barely there when I could see it through the PVS-14? It's because the radiant heat from the signature was super low amplitude and duration. Remember the dimension of time? It doesn't only matter in silencers. It matters here too, okay? The surrounding air doesn't remain hot enough for long enough for it to matter. It's just not happening. It's just not, it's not enough thermal energy, okay? Doesn't happen for long enough time. So, in other words, with a thermal, the shot itself is uneventful for you. So what I've just talked to you about in so many words is a practical user experience as the shooter on a 14.5-inch AR with the Flow 7.62 Ti at night, with M193 ammo, with semi and full auto use in 3 different spectra: visual, night vision, and thermal. And the results of all of that are that I saw flash in night vision, barely anything in thermal, and sparking in visual. Okay? So, the $1 million question for all you operators out there, could people see my sparking from far away? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, could people wearing night vision see my flash from far away? I don't know. I don't know. Could people with thermal see my flash from far away? Bro, who cares? They're seeing your whole body, homie. Remember, thermal makes them see you. So forget about the silencer. They're going to see your whole gun. They're going to see your dumb face. Not calling your face dumb, but relax. They're going to see everything about you. You are going to stand out like a sore thumb in thermal. Okay? So bad news if you didn't know that, because the chances of you hiding are almost zero from thermal. Okay? Sorry to burst your bubble. I haven't met an animal that could hide from thermal without being physically covered by stuff. Okay? And if you are physically covered by things like trees and solid objects, then you can hide your flash too. Because you can put the whole gun barrel under a cover and have only a peek out for your freaking scope. Right? Right. Okay. You can hide. Okay. So there's things you can do here. You can hide behind a building, and then they're not seeing your flash because they can't see through the building. Understand? I mean, there's all kinds of, okay, so you got to think, like, what are we talking about? So that's the $1 million question, can people see you? But what's the $10 million question? The $10 million question for a lot of people here is, does the sparking go away in the visual spectrum after you shoot more than 200 rounds through this silencer? Like HUXWRX says that. Like HUXWRX says, well, you shoot 200 rounds, you're not going to have no flash no more, or no sparking no more. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, I bet it takes longer than 200 rounds. I bet you it takes longer than 200 rounds. Why? Because when I ran out of ammo that night, I had hit 200 rounds, more or less, and it was still sparking. So I and it's a 14.5-inch barrel. So I basically need to get, what I need to do is get my Magpul D60, my drum mag, and I need to dump or my drum mags, and I need to dump a few drums through it is what I need to do. And when I need to do that on a shorter barrel, get even hotter. I need to really just obliterate some of it. I mean, why not, right? I'll let you know. But basically what I want to do is get to 1,000 rounds and then note what I see and then clean it and then note what I see, and then I'll consider this test done. for my own use, and then I'll report it to you. Understand what I mean? What I'll probably do is just load up all that Norma ammo next time I go to the ranch, because I have some more work to do at the ranch. Actually, maybe if I'm not testing this weekend, I might be going to the ranch to do more work, and then I can just burn all that Norma ammo so I can buy different ammo, just to try different ammo types. So I can just use it all through the silencer and through two guns or something, and see what I see. Okay, I'm just trying to get this to a point where it can help you guys, because like for me, like I told you, like I'm just gonna, like if I need to test the silencer again, HUXWRX is just gonna send me another specimen to test. So this one I'm running on my personal gun because I wanted to. So that's the visual IR thermal. And by the way, you know what's interesting about that? The IR glow was the only IR glow I was seeing was near the blast chamber. It was cool. Now, the thermal IR glow, dude, it looked like a radioactive orb of death, bro. I don't know if you ever looked through a silencer through a thermal optic, but you can't hide a cooking silencer from thermal. Are you crazy? Like, have you seen like how hot you look? What, you think a silencer that has been shot full auto in thermal isn't gonna like be a literal Christmas orb? What did you think I was going to see through that? You know what I mean? Like, guys, if you, I'm telling you, if you think you can hide from thermal, especially when shooting guns, you are going to be so disappointed. I don't care what your silencer is made of. You are going to glow. You are going to glow like a Fed. No, but you are. Okay, so enough about what you see. What about gas to the face? Right? I never give you these reports of like actual me shooting for fun. What about gas? I didn't really notice it much that I remember. I can't remember. Is the gun overgassed to begin with, like without the HUXWRX on it? Probably. I think, what is it, an 076 gas port on the mid-length system for the 14.5 General Defense? I think it's 076, whereas the Mark 18 for the carbine length 10.3 inch, the carbine length gas 10.3 inch Mark 18 is at 070. I think this gun is an 076. So it's a bigger gas port because it's a mid-length gas system, but it has longer dwell time because it's a 14.5-inch barrel. So they probably went to like 08 something, then they're like, nope, bring it back to 07 something, and they fell into 076, and that's probably how they figured it out. Whatever, that's what it is. So is it overgassed to begin with? I mean, probably. It's probably overgassed for me because I'm like a gas weenie and I want it like tuned to the bleeding edge like a Ferrari because I'm a lunatic. But so what did I do? What did I tell you at the beginning of this topic? Well, I was using an H3 buffer. Did it operate well full auto with the H3? Yeah, it was pretty smooth. It wasn't OBC smooth, guys. Don't get carried away with yourself. But it was nice. I enjoyed it. Longer dwell time than I would like. Okay, but here we are. I was wondering if Daniel Defense would make me a custom intermediate gas upper. Like a custom 14.5-inch intermediate gas, like you use like the Knight's Armament gas length. Yeah, that wouldn't insult them to ask them that. I'm going to ask them. No, they totally won't do it, but hey, I'm still going to ask them. What the worst they can say is no. Right? I don't know. I think it's a fair question. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this upper how it is for now. Attacker gang, rise up. You know the other factory upper I have, that's 5.56. That like I have a whole factory gun. That's this other one I have. It's the HK. What is it? MR 5.56. I have that. It's longer. It's like I think it's a 16-inch or 18-inch. I think 16-inch. Yeah, it's a longer barrel, heavier gun. So I'm gonna get a scope with a higher magnification, not super high, but like higher than a 1.8. I want to get like, I don't know, something else and put on there, and so I can do more hood rat stuff with that. And then I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah, I think having some personal guns to shoot is really nice. I get to not mess up test house, and I get to give you guys cool info like this. Give you some actual, like, remember when I used to talk to you about guns that were fun to shoot, and you're like, oh, that's cool. What else other guns do you like? And like we talk about that. Remember like when I actually had time? That was cool. I remember that too. Yeah. So I think I'll I think I'll try to have fun and do this more. Next up, what I need to do is shoot the Flow 762 on the Scar. I haven't done that yet. So, like I said earlier, I wasn't planning on shooting that day that I shot this weekend, but I had some time. So, I hope that gave you some good info. This is like real, like from me, man, from my eyes, what I saw. I didn't have a guy standing down range looking at me. I think if you're like doing something like this, like if I had a friend. Like my wife would have done it with me, but she was busy. Otherwise, like she's totally down. She would totally be my spotter. She's ride or die. You don't even know how wonderful that woman is. She'd probably do it. Have me spot. She loves to shoot just as much as me. She'd probably take it. But yeah, she would. She'd probably take the gun from me. No. But if you're gonna do this experiment, I urge you, like, do it for your own edification, for your eyes as you're shooting. Because I know some people get like super like persnickety about what stuff looks like at night, and that's cool. It's important for you to have expectations, so you know what you like and what you don't. Like, it's super important. So like you do that for yourself. But if you can have a buddy, like you have a buddy observe you from far away and see what they see, and then have them shoot the gun, and then you go see too, nothing better. Yeah, you can film it, but I'm a firm believer in watching it. I think having your eyes see is pretty dope, dude. I think it's cool. So do that. Maybe I can film through the thermal or night vision. My Voodoo doesn't have wait. I know I can take pictures through it. You know what I can do probably? I have an external battery pack hookup for it. I bet you I can pipe it to a video feed. I can pipe the Voodoo to a video feed. It just won't have power to it. That's okay. I just power off the battery and then video through it. I could just as easily video with one of my Pulsar thermals, but I just don't think a silencer through thermal is interesting. I think that's stupid because it's just going to look like a glowing hot thing. So I think filming through the night vision is probably more valuable for you guys, and that's something maybe Nick from the Firearm Blog could help me with. Nick Chen, I don't know if you know that guy. He is like super into thermal and night vision, like unhealthy obsession, which, hey, I'm not mad about that. He's cool. He's really nice. We talk sometimes. So maybe I can ask him and he can instruct me on the best way to film through my night vision, and then maybe I do that or something. I don't know. Because that'd be cool. I think filming visually can be fun too. I've done a couple of videos like that on Instagram. If you go to my Reels tab, I had the HUXWRX FLOW 556K on a short machine gun. This is a little different, but I can do that too. I just don't think those videos are as useful. I think it's better to see it with your eyes. Or, when I start doing flash testing at PEW Science and we do some nerd stuff, it could be cool. Okay. So I'll answer any questions you guys have about this. Just let me know. You can email me or we can talk online or whatever. I'll talk about it with you if you have any questions about it. And hey, if you shot it at night with night vision, you tell me your experience. Tell me what your gear is. Tell me what ammo you used, what barrel length and everything. We can talk about it. Maybe if I get enough information, I can share that with other people too and they'll benefit. Okay. Let's move into topic 3 at time of 58 minutes and 16 seconds. Okay. All right. 1 second. I hope that was informative. I know a lot of people wanted to know about that. So I hope it helps you if you're in the market for doing HUXWRX stuff with your friends at night. Or maybe alone if you're looking for gun friends like me. Topic 3. This is a really interesting topic that I didn't think I was going to do, but I was asked by some industry companies to do it, and I am going to do it. So the topic is, I like to preface it by the introduction is that, you think about what we do at PEW Science. Independent laboratory testing of silencer sound signatures. That's one part. The other part is engineering analysis of the silencers and the signatures they produce. Why do I do that? Why does PEW Science do that? And I said in the topic description here that it's more than just for trust and mitigating a conflict of interest. It's more than that. The very essence of the research, the state of practice, the grassroots education that we are all, I'm giving you on this podcast and that people spread, the education people help others with, all of that is important. And I do sincerely every time, thank you guys for helping PEW Science to build the pedigree, build the Science or Sound Standard Research pedigree, okay? And it's a big part of it as the answer to why we do it. And so I'll say, like, again, I was asked to do this. Why did I start PEW Science? Okay, now the really like brief, no holds barred, unfiltered reasons they're outlined in the frequently asked questions section on the website. They've been there since the beginning. In short, and I know this sounds aggressive, and I know people don't like this when I say it, but in short, we needed this and nobody was doing it. Okay? It's full stop. Now, when I set out to do it, it had to be done by an independent entity so that the data couldn't be removed or tainted or changed or manipulated. Okay? You guys know that you can't let a dealer or distributor do this because the manufacturer can tell them to pull it. You know that. You know that happens, right? Like, that's not a secret, guys. Okay, that's not you can't. How is that going to work for the people if it can just disappear? Okay, so that was a really big part of it. Oh, excuse me. And so the things we measure, the raw data itself, it's very valuable. And that raw data is used to perform complex computations. And from those computations, we give a meaningful bottom line. Okay? We give that bottom line metric, and that's very powerful. Okay? And so when I looked at this, this whole effort, what it needed to include was a central repository that was like a repository of data, a catalog, a vault that was immune from corruption. Okay? That is, you take away the vulnerabilities. So how could you do it? How would we make it immune from corruption? And you know, because I know I didn't really want to talk about this today, but this is what people want. It wasn't that simple. Okay? At first glance, the first step to isolating a vulnerability is to remove it. You remove the vulnerability. Okay? And someone told me a story a few days ago. Somebody I'm close to told me a story a few days ago. And the essence of it is that any vulnerability that is discovered will be exploited. Okay? And I know I'm going to butcher this example, but here's the analogy they use with me. I'm going to boil it down simply. I think it's a great one. So some folks out there, they went, and this is a true story, but I'm just going to butcher it, but it's okay. Some folks went on a tour of a brewery, right? So they went this, you can take tours at breweries that you like, all the different beers you like and stuff. Anyway, so these guys, they went on this tour of this brewery, and they knew that they could get 2 free beers at the end of the tour. But they had to go through the whole tour. Okay? And then you get your 2 free beers at the end, right? Yeah. So, in doing this tour to get their beers, they discovered a vulnerability. They said there's this path that was kind of closed off during the tour. They like, what's that? Like, what happens if we go that way? Well, they saw that if they used that path, they could then re-enter before the tour was completely over for everyone after getting their 2 free beers, and they could get 2 more beers. Okay? So that vulnerability in that brewery, it resulted in 4 beers. Free beer. That's right. And so who doesn't want free beer? If there's I can tell you right now, I don't know how many of you drink beer, but if you like beer and it's free and like there's a way to get that free beer and you find out about that way, you're gonna get it. Okay, like that's just like how it works. Okay, so again, that's not exactly how the story went, but you get the point. There was a vulnerability and the people found it and they certainly used it. Okay, so the point is any vulnerability that is discovered will be exploited. Okay, now what is the vulnerability in silencer testing for the past three or more decades with the mill standard that we all know and love? We all love the mill standard, right? You should. What's the vulnerability? Well, actually, you can count them. You can count the vulnerabilities, but you're going to run out of fingers, though. You're going to run out of fingers. There are actually 100 different vulnerabilities, 100 different ways to falsify test results. And we've had the mill standard for years, and somehow, no single silencer company or dealer or distributor has ever published results that agree with another one. Ever. Never, ever, 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 ever. Never, ever, never happened. It's never happened. Why? Is it because they're lying? No, not necessarily. They might not be. Not necessarily. Absolutely not. It could be because they're using different equipment, right? Or it could be that there's conditions during the testing they're not taking into account. Could be there's different ammunition that they're using. It could be they're not putting something in exactly the right place. Maybe they're doing something a little bit differently. There's all kinds of reasons why it could vary. Okay? There's so many reasons why it could vary. Okay? But the one thing in common from all of those people using the mill standard, saying they're using the, let's assume for a second that they're actually doing it right. All of those people, what's the common thing? They're always measuring a single point in time. Always. A single fleeting moment in the signature, right? And that moment that they're measuring, that fleeting moment in the signature, that one point, that's the metric folks were using to judge sound. Okay? So, and it's not for lack of trying or like, it's not malicious, guys. They're not trying to be bad people or anything like that. When people, they're used to hearing the word decibel, right? To measure sound. They like from a jet engine or a lawnmower. So people took no issue with hearing that word used to describe a gunshot or like a silenced gunshot. People took no issue. They're like, oh, using the decibel, how many decibels? And they're like, and that's it. That's the metric they thought, right? So to the layman, loud is loud. So why should it matter? Right? You might ask yourself. So I mean, and we don't need to go through all that. You already know. If you've been to pewscience.com, you've read the Silencer Sound Standard, you've read the reviews, you already know why it matters, right? So we created the suppression rating. We created the suppression rating to quantify the entire signature from before combustion takes place until all the combustion is gone. Okay? So, people are used to looking at a single number. That single dB. Now, this lets you actually do that, but this lets you look at a single number that actually works, that's actually meaningful. Okay? That's what it is. So now let's talk about the beer again. Okay? Let's talk about the beer. All right? What's the free beer? What's the free beer in this situation? In this brewery? Doing what everyone did with the mill standard for 30 years. That's the free beer, guys. Doing what everyone did with the mill standard for 30 years, making the results say what they wanted them to say. That's the easy vulnerability. You see what I mean, Jelly Bean? I'm not telling you people are lying, but I'm also telling you it's super easy to do so, right? And what happens when there's a vulnerability? It will be exploited, okay? Making the results say what they want them to say. So, take it a step further. What's another vulnerability? Falsifying the suppression rating. So, let me ask you, how would you take away the vulnerability in the brewery? If you were the brewmaster, what would you do? Would you rope off the path and put an armed guard in front of the path so that people couldn't go down that path and skip the line to double the amount of free beer they got? Would you do that? Would you rope it off and put a guard there? No, you probably wouldn't. Why? Well, because someone would find out about that and they would distract the guard. And next thing you know, people are getting 4 beers during the tour again. Right? They skip the guard. And next thing you know, everyone is getting a 95 suppression rating on their 300 blackout silencer on the Q Minifix. Okay. So what did I do as the brewmaster? I didn't rope off the path and place a guard there. No. I filled the path with concrete. Okay? There is no path. The suppression rating is encrypted. Okay? You can still take the tour. You can look in every closet, every room. You can look under every seat. But you can't go down that path because the path doesn't exist in my brewery. Understand? I filled it with concrete. Okay? I did this to protect the effort from vulnerability that we witnessed for decades. Okay? This is the method I chose. This is the only method I knew would work. And so far, it is working. Okay? So if there are people out there who don't like it, and I've said this 100 times, if there are people out there that don't like it, I say to them this. I say this. Don't use the suppression rating. Okay? Don't use it. Just look at the raw data. Okay? All of the raw waveforms are published. Anyone can measure those. Don't. If anyone's telling you they can't measure them, they're lying. Okay? Anyone with a data acquisition system that's appropriately configured can measure a raw, unfiltered waveform. Okay? If you can't do it, that just means you couldn't do it in the first place, even if you had my system. Okay? So if you don't like the suppression rating, don't use it. Just use the raw data that's published because it's open source for everybody. Anyone can measure them. If you only want to look at peak decibel, if you only want to look at peak dB, just look at that. It's on the website. I give that to you in every article. It's there. And if that is all you want, you just took part of the tour in the brewery. Congratulations, dude. But for the people who want the 2 free beers, those 2 that you get with the tour, the suppression rating is at the top of the page in every review. Guess what? I give you your 2 beers free when you enter the brewery. You don't even have to go through the tour if you don't want to. Okay? You know, I had lunch today with a police officer. He's a canine handler. You know why I met this guy for lunch? He was loaning me his Knight's Armament 11.5-inch CQB Mod 2 upper, whatever it's called, to test with. The picture with this podcast I'm publishing is his upper, along with 2 Knight's Armament silencers that I was sent by a dealer to test. He just out of the blue messaged me, told me he wanted me to loan them to me. He thought it would be cool, since I'm going to test the new 3D printed Knight's Armament silencers, to also test it on his brand new unfired Mod 2 upper, that because he had another, this is just an extra one he had. This police officer He's a gun guy. He has a lot of awesome guns. He has some silencers. We had a great lunch. He's a PEW Science member. Actually, he supports the effort. He told me that he wished he had found it sooner. He told me it was so hard to navigate the land of influencers to get real information. And he said now he has this, and that's why he supports PEW Science. And he kept thanking me. So I thanked him for his support. And he said he got sick of it. He was like, I guess we could keep thanking each other all day. And he was like, he's actually kind of straight to the point kind of guy. I kind of like him. He's nice. Just met him. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you his name. I don't want to blow up his spot, but he's a good guy. He's on Instagram. That's how we communicated. I say all this to say, all this research is for all of you, okay? I've gone to great lengths to be as transparent as possible, but also to close off the hallway so people don't steal the beer, all right? So in this way, I think the brewery will remain open, and everyone can drink free beer forever, okay? And you know, and we know, that the beer that you drink that's free it's always going to be fresh, it's always going to be cold, it's always going to taste great, and it's never going to be an IPA. Okay? Do you understand my analogy now? All right? So thank you for listening. Please stay safe out there. All right? Stay tuned for data this week. I think you'll like it. I think it's interesting. I think it's probably going to be a big deal. All right? I will talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.